The Doomstalker, a long-range damage dealer with a hand size of 12, and we're gonna need it because there are definitely some bad slash questionable cards, and we'll talk about that. And then the Doomstalker actually has some hidden movement issues, which I'm also gonna talk about. And then I have to talk about summons and a summon build. I don't know if that's really a thing. It's not really a thing, but we're gonna talk about how if you really want to summon, you can help make them more viable. Okay, let's get started. Race to the grave. Top, why? Just why? It's flexible, but 5 damage is very rarely enough for a loss. The initiative though is quite good, and the bottom Doom is really nice. Great against shielded enemies. It's probably one of our best Dooms. It's definitely in the top 3 Dooms at level 1, and is really good for those shielded enemies. And it's usually going to do an extra 2 to 4 damage depending on how long the monster lives. So yeah, quite good there. Swift Trickery. Getting Dooms on monsters is easy. This top has, a ton of range. I mean, range 4 is really good. It's attack 4, range 4. And then you add like bottom of rain of arrows. You're looking at attack 6, range 4. Very, very good card. The experience is just, it's just extra. It's great. Great initiative at 11. And then we've got the move 5. And this is part of what I was talking about when I was talking about hidden move problems, is that you look at this, you go, we've got a move 5 at initiative 11. Very tough to use this move 5 because this attack is so good, especially at early levels. If you have to use this for the move 5, you're always going to be like, why? So yeah, part of the hidden move issue, but still a great, great card overall. Sap Life. Top is actually a very powerful situational effect, and I think it's a lot better than people give it credit for. All you have to do when you play a card like this is have a plan. I like to call it the X plan. I'm actually making this up as I go along. I've never called it the X plan. But if you think about it this way, you've got this card top and another card bottom. If you go in and you see that the monsters aren't going to be attacking, you just switch up to the other side of the X. This is an X. That was almost a T. You go to the other side of the X. So instead of playing this top and a bottom, you play this bottom and a top. And this is a decent enough Doom that, if you're down hit points, you could heal, you can get rid of poison when you need to, whatever. So the top of this card is actually pretty damn good. It solves a lot of the retaliate problems, and in the right situation, you can go in and dish out a ridiculous amount of damage. Also synergizes well with the later card, and because we have 12 cards, we can afford to do these things sometimes. We can be pretty tanky. We're medium health track with 12 cards. That actually makes us very, very tanky in certain situations, and we don't actually need to use a lot of lost cards, especially early on. And then the bottom, the initiative is good. I mean, 14 is good. And then the bottom, I already talked about it. Healing is going to be useful in certain situations. Solid Bow. It's solid. There's not much else to say. Attack 3, range 5, good. Initiative 31, could be better, could be worse. Bottom, move 4, giver. A Moment's Peace. Something that with multiple children, I never get. Had to throw that in there. The top, loot 1. Sometimes it's going to be useful. It's loot. The initiative 88 is actually really good for us, though, when we want to go late. It's our latest initiative at level 1. And then the bottom, move 2, heal 2, self, is actually going to be pretty useful. It's ripe for enhancements. We'll talk about that later. Vital Charge. On the top, we've got the Battle Boar. Battle Boar is pretty meh. We'll talk about how it can be more useful in a little bit. It'll make more sense later on. And then the initiative at 78, it's late. It's not quite as late as we would want, but still it can be handy. The bottom is quite a powerful heal. The card you're seeing here is my first edition card, and it was nerfed down to 4 heal. Still pretty good though. Pretty easy to doom and kill, so it's not super situational. It's essentially a heal for self. Felling Swoop. So, you want to play a summon build. Well, You can only play it at very low scenario levels. I would never play it past scenario level 2. And what you need to do is you've got to play the Battle Boar first from Vital Charge so that it takes the aggro. Because if you summon it first, the initiative order is going to be Battle Boar first, then your Warhawk. And they both have 3 moves, so you can get them synced up, essentially, because they move the same. And if you get them targeting the same monster, and then you use the bottom of the hunt begins, then you can actually get some pretty good damage going. What you've got to make sure to do, though, is you've got to make sure you're in there yourself, and sometimes you're going to need to put yourself in between your summons and the monster, which is sometimes tough to do because they're pretty mobile at 3 move. And then you're going to have to try and make sure that they're killing the monsters that they attack. And you can get a couple turns out of this, 2-3 turns maybe sometimes. And with the hunt begins, this can actually turn into something. That being said, very tough to manage. But hey, if you're really stubborn and you're like, I'm doing a summon build, those are kind of the things you need to look at when doing the summon build. And then the bottom of Felling Swoop, the teleport, it's pretty useful actually. Dooming has no range, and so, you know, in some scenarios like with objectives and things like that, this can actually be very, very, very powerful to move where you need to move. Let me know if you try the summon build. I'm really curious to see if you can get that sync up between the Hawk and the Battle Bar going. Anyways, if you're liking the video, please go ahead, hit that like button. It really helps me out a lot. And subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so that when I publish new content, you're notified. And also, Noble Knight Games, they're fantastic. They have this massive warehouse. They have the largest selection of games in the world. And they also have a ton of old stuff that's out of print. So if you're looking for something cool from your childhood, you can go there and they'll probably have it. Everything I've tried to find so far, they've pretty much had. And trust me, it's going to be worth it to go and check them out. So I've got a link down in the description. Don't forget to go and click on that, see what they've got. The hunt begins. I talked a lot about summons already, so I'll just be brief on this one. The Jackal is not bad. I mean, at early levels, it can take a hit, and it's wounding, it's retaliating, and it's attacking. So definitely not that bad. It can be okay, but I would really only play it right away at level 1. So if you're watching this, you're just starting the Doomstalker, and you want to try a summon build, and you want to try and use the Jackal, I'd use it right now. And then the bottom, it's really only good if you're trying to use summons. So most of the time it's actually not going to be useful, but if you do play summons, summon, it's going to be fun. Rain of Arrows. Top is not that good. Think about it this way. What if the doomed enemy was the last enemy alive? Charge wasted. What if you've got shielded enemies? To attack is not going to cut it. Usually this is going to be worth less than 8 damage, and it's delayed damage. Not a fan of that. I pretty much never played for this. However, the bottom is very, very good. One of our core dooms, add plus to attack when you're attacking the enemy. This is going to be really useful for us. I'd like to open up a room with this and Swift Trickery a lot of the time. Very good. Frightening Curse. It's more of a curse for yourself than the monsters, though. So I guess that does actually make it very frightening. Not that great. There's not enough charges, and the range 2 is such a pain. Even though you can't waste the charges, it should have had more range and probably an extra charge, and then it would have been much more viable. And the problem is that we've got this top that's close to unusable, and then a bottom that's powerful but only situationally powerful. Once in a while a card like this is going to be amazing. You got a couple monsters near traps, you kill one, you do 15 damage because you're throwing guys into traps and whatever else. Or maybe they're next to a... Yeah, I can't say that. That was going to be a spoiler. I'm not saying that. If they're next to traps or you can position guys, sometimes it's going to be amazing, but too situational. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Detonation. Top. It's not that good. It's supposedly part of the Trapper build or something. But that's 0% viability, basically. compared to the summon build, which you can sort of make work depending on what you do. Let's forget about the top. The bottom, though, is really good. In a 4-player party, this can be your MVP Doom. Like, it can. You can kill a monster and do 6-9 suffer damage with it sometimes. Like, it's really, really good. Have fun with that. You know, Doom monsters, blow them up. Carnage ensues. Fresh kill. Top is actually pretty good. The card you're looking at here is my first edition card when it was attack 3. Second edition, it's attack 2 and +2 on an undamaged enemy. Still pretty decent. Not as good as you'd think, though, because generally you want to be trying to kill monsters, and so you've got to really coordinate. However, you can play this card with something like the bottom of multi-pronged assault, and you can really jump an elite with this. Go fast, fire it on a fresh elite, and then tell your allies, hey, you're going to want to attack that elite because you're going to get a bonus from it. And you can really pick off an elite quickly like this to help yourself in a room. And then the bottom, the move 3 jump, not bad. And let's talk about movement problems again. Again, we've got a good move. It's not quite enough for this class because we want to, do big moves because we're sitting still with our Dooms a lot. But we've got another move, and it's on the bottom of another one of our good reusable attacks. And really, that is the problem with movement. All of our movement, not all, I'm exaggerating, our movement is generally tied to our really good top non-loss attacks. And that creates a ton of problems for us. So still a really good card overall, but sometimes you're not going to be able to play it for the top. You're going to need some move, and that applies to the other, top non-loss attacks with the good moves as well. Crippling Noose. The top is just not viable. It's delayed. Even if you were to say to me, 4 damage plus a stun, no other conditions, I would be like, maybe, right? They're going to path around the trap if they can. Really, traps are mostly good for altering monster movement. So lost traps, not super great, not viable. I've talked too much. 57 initiative, also. And then the bottom, the enemy's attack, move, and range are reduced by 1. Doesn't scale well, okay at early levels, but because the top is so awful, I'm never taking this card with me. Foot Snare, another one of our super powerful traps. I'm being so sarcastic today. I'm definitely in a mood today. Better than Crippling Noose, though, because it's reusable. You want to make monsters path around. I mean, if you can cost them a turn with this, it's probably worth it, but still not great. 61 initiative, no good. The bottom is great for if you're in the fray and you want to attack quickly and move out. You can effectively pseudo-stun a melee monster by attacking and moving out before they can attack, neutralizing their ability to find a target. Multi-pronged assault. Top is a nice, strong loss card for us to dish out some pretty serious damage. And then the bottom, very good as well to help, take down an elite like I talked about before. So overall, quite a good card. It's got good initiative. Definitely taking this one. At level 2, we've got Expose and we've got Relentless Offensive. So Expose, top is what I would consider a core card you can kind of build around. Having advantage when you're attacking a doomed monster is going to be, really good over the length of the scenario. The invisibility part is kind of funny. Once in a while it's going to be useful, but in general it's not. And then we've got initiative at 13, which is good. You probably won't use a lot, though, because you're going to be, mostly playing this early in scenarios. However, you're going to have scenarios for sure when you're in the opening room and you get rushed a lot in the opening room, where this bottom, you're going to be like, yeah, I've got to play this. I've got a bunch of shielded enemies, and if I give all my allies Pierce 2, we're going to steamroll this room. So very, very good card. Relentless Offensive is also very good. Because we have so many top non-loss attacks that have good moves on them, this can help us with that by allowing us to play this and using one of our other non-loss attacks to actually move and can alleviate some of the move problems. And then the initiative at 52, it is what it is. and then the bottom add plus to it to all your attacks targeting doomed. This can be pretty good as well. So this is fairly close. I generally tend to go with expose just because I like having advantage consistently, and the invisibility and then the pierce on the bottom. I mean, overall it's just a little bit better, but we may come back for this level 2 card Relentless Offensive later on. At level 3, we have Press the Attack and we have Darken Skies. Press the Attack top is just going to be a strong, solid attack. It's got great initiative at 10, and then the bottom, Retaliate 2, Range 2. Pair this with Sap Life, and you've got some serious Retaliate going. And if the monsters don't attack, you just play the other side of the X, and you've got, a Doom and a solid attack. It's not going to be a wasted turn, which removes so much of the risk around playing Retaliate. I play it like this a lot. And then we've got Darken Skies. Top is like, it's one of those cards, sometimes you're just going to be like, woo! And you're going to wreck the room. Other times, you're going to have shielded enemies, and especially at later levels, you're kind of going to be like, not that amazing. Still a pretty good card overall. And then the bottom is another one that is pretty fancy looking and is good most of the time. But I still think taking Press the Attack is going to be better for you long term. Especially if you took Expose, you've got to take Press the Attack. You've got to have another non-loss attack. But if you took Relentless Offensive, you can take Darken Skies for the burst power. The burst damage power. At level 4, we have Singular Focus and we have Flight of Flame. Singular Focus, top loot 2, really great end of scenario move. Initiative at 28 is not too bad. Bottom, give everybody advantage on one particular enemy. Going to be fairly useful. All that being said, Flight of Flame, the top trap is actually not too bad. I've triggered this trap myself. I have. It's not that bad, actually. In certain situations, it can be decently useful. You've really got to make sure all the monsters are going to path the right way, but can be useful. Initiative at 53. And then the move 5 jump, though, is amazing. Never has a move 5 jump been so good for anyone at any point in time in the history of Gloomhaven. Wow, I'm really committing myself here. Anyways, because of what I've talked about before, because we have move problems, because we have so many good non-loss attacks tied to moves, this card to me is essential. I'm taking Flight of Flame 100% of the time, and it's going to really help with those move problems. It's going to allow you to stand still, doom and attack, doom and attack, doom and attack, big move. Doom and attack, doom and attack. And that's what you want to do with the Doomstalker. You don't want to move 3 or 2. You want to be dooming as much as you can and killing monsters and dooming again. At level 5, we have Inescapable Fate and we have Wild Command. Inescapable Fate top, it looks good in theory, but it rarely works out in practice. You're essentially using 2 dooms on one monster, and it's not really worth it. It's supposed to be played with Rising Momentum so that the doom from Rising Momentum and another doom can automatically transfer to another monster. But because on Rising Momentum, it's only got 2 range, it has a decent chance of failure, and then you've essentially wasted turns. 1 or more turns. So I don't really think it's that good. And then the bottom, hey, do you want to wait a lot of turns for something to die? Well, go ahead and play this card. And also, while you're doing that, you have to keep the doom out and you can't play any other dooms, thereby completely neutering your other attacks like Swift Trickery, stuff like that. Press the Attack, right? Because you don't have a doom on somebody else, and because you've put this, insta-kill, very not insta-kill on this monster, you're not going to want to attack them. They're going to die anyways. You're going to want to attack other monsters, so you're kind of going to have these turns that aren't as good. It's just not worth it in my opinion. The initiative is great at 97 though if you want to go last. And then we've got Wild Command. The top, well, once we get to our level 9 summon, you can use it for that. Or, yeah, that's it. There is no or. There's basically no or. You can sometimes use it with the toad. But the bottom is actually good. Move 3, attack 2, target 1 doomed enemy at any range. That's super flexible for us to move and get an extra attack plus our top attack. Very, very good. Just remember, if you're adjacent to a monster, it is considered a ranged attack and you'll be at disadvantage. I'm taking Wild Command almost every time. Unless, you theory crafters out there, you want to try and play the Rising Momentum and Inescapable Fate combo, let me know how it goes. At level 6, we have Nature's Hunger and we have Camouflage. Nature's Hunger, the toad is not bad. It can do some decent work. And if you've got Wild Command, you can do, you could get to stun 2 monsters in 1 turn. And because it's stunning, it has a lot more survivability. So it's actually not bad. And then the bottom can be situationally powerful, but that's kind of the problem with this card. You don't always want to play the toad, and then you've got a fairly situational bottom. If you do play the toad, play it on the far side of a room so that it's only got 1 move, so you got to play it on the far side of the room so it can attack from the back, and then it'll probably be able to get itself up into the next room. Not always, but that's your best chance of having it be a multi-room summon that can, kind of do a little bit more work. And then Camouflage, attack 3, range 5, go invisible. This is a pretty strong card. Very useful. It's not super powerful, but going invisible to, block a door or act as a pillar to path a melee monster around and have it waste its turn. There's a ton of uses like that. And then the bottom, move 3, invisible. Same sort of thing. You'll probably use it 50-50. Sometimes you're going to attack with it. Sometimes you're, going to move with it. It's always going to be fairly useful. But you can go back and take Darkened Skies at level 3 if you haven't taken it. Or even take Relentless Offensive. To me, either of those cards are as good as Camouflage. At level 7, we have Impending End and Crashing Wave. Impending End top, just a good solid attack, can be worth up to 6. And then the bottom, add +3, very good. Initiative is not that great, but we can work with that. And then Crashing Wave, the top is got some pretty good utility, and it's actually really good for getting experience, but once you're at this level, 3 attack it's not that great. So power-wise, a bit weak. Initiative at 22 is decent though. And then the bottom Doom, you can actually curse quite a bit with this. So, I like to play Crashing Wave just because I think it's fun to switch it up a little bit. Impending End, though, is the solid choice. If you're really just looking to be that guy just dealing damage every single turn and killing monsters, it's probably slightly better, but cursing multiple times a turn for a non-loss card is also very good. At level 8, we have Feral Instincts and we have Rising Momentum. Feral Instincts top, it's pretty good utility-wise. It's always going to be semi-useful, but power-wise for level 8, I think it's way low. I would say this is a level 3, maybe 4 card, somewhere in there. So not loving it because of that. Initiative at 35 is okay. And what you're looking at here is my first edition card again. Another nerf, it's heal 4, because this card was just, it was clearly way too powerful. Anyways, good utility on the bottom. And then we've got Rising Momentum. The top, miracle buff here. This first edition was only 5, up to 6. Still not that good though. It's still not good enough for level 8, I don't think. Once in a while you're going to shove a big elite back, like a big melee elite back or something where they can't get to you and attack. So, it's okay. Initiative at 12 is quite good. And then we already talked about the bottom. I think it's too risky to play this Doom that doesn't have any benefits except that it can jump along with other Dooms. So I'm taking probably neither of these cards. Go back and get Darkened Skies, or the level 2 card you didn't take, or Flight of Flame, or Camouflage. Anything that makes sense in your build, I'm pretty much leaving both these cards home. Level 9, we have Lead to Slaughter, and we have Predator and Prey. Lead to Slaughter top, it's super flexible, attack 4 at 6 range, but it's not powerful enough for level 9. It's just not. Yeah, you can pull monsters into traps sometimes. I don't think it's that good though. The bottom, semi-flexible. You can move essentially and transfer a Doom. It's going to be useful in some scenarios, but still not great in my opinion. Predator and Prey, top is awesome. Play this first round every time if you can, and it is going to output serious damage. Say a scenario lasts 15 rounds. That's 45 base damage, plus it's poisoning enemies all over the place, adding damage to everybody's attacks who attack those monsters. And so you're easily getting upwards of, 50, 60 damage out of this card in a scenario if you can keep it alive. And it's pretty easy to keep alive. It can take a reasonable hit, and it's shooting at range 3. The bottom of this card is pretty decent, but I pretty much always used it for the top. Play it for the top. Predator and Prey, 100% of the time. Okay, let's talk enhancements. First, Swift Trickery, +1 damage. It's going to do great work for you. Next, if you do manage to get Relentless Offensive, whether you take it at level 2 or you take it later on, adding +1 damage or Curse to that is going to be really, really good. It's going to turn it from a pretty good card into a great card. And then a Moment's Peace. If you take Expose, you go through your deck pretty quick. Attacking on advantage a lot is going to allow you to push through that attack modifier deck quite quickly. Any way you can get Blesses in your deck is great. So put Bless on the bottom and you're going to love it. For perks, we're taking out the negative ones right away. Gloomhaven is based on planning. You need 3 damage. Monster has 3 hit points. You need that 3 damage. Pulling the -1 just blows up your plans. -1s ruin lives. Then I'm going with replace the 2+0s with 2+1s. Every single one of them, all 3 checkboxes. And then add +2 muddle. Then add +1 poison. Add +1 wound. After that, dealer's choice. Okay, let's talk items. They're just going to be Prosperity 1. I don't like to do a bunch of item recommendations because lots of people are at different points and I don't want to spoil things. Anyways, first, get the Boots of Striding. The very first thing you do for this class is Boots of Striding. Because you want to do big moves, stop, doom and attack, doom and attack, doom and attack, big move, you get it. And then get a Minor Stam. Minor Stam, always the best potion to get first. Allow you to play your most powerful non-loss 2 times in a rest cycle. It's always going to be good. And then you want the Bow of Piercing. Use that with multi-pronged assault when you got some tough shielded enemies, and you're gonna be able to do some really good work, especially at lower levels. Please make sure and check out Noble Knight down in the description. I need your support to keep this channel going, to keep putting out great content, and so anything you can do to help me out is greatly appreciated, and thanks so much for watching the video.